Hello, I'm Caroline Marshall, and welcome to Bump to Business Owner, the podcast speaking to mums in business, you. I'll be in conversation with some of the most inspiring women and mothers in enterprise about their journey, how they created their successful businesses alongside raising their children, and what that looks like in work and family life. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Bump to Business Owner. I'm your host, Caroline Marshall, and today I'm joined by a powerhouse in women's wellness, Kira Mahal, the founder and CEO of MotivatePT, a tech-enabled fitness platform helping women build strength, confidence, and long-lasting wellness through every stage of life. From launching her business in a ski chalet to rebuilding it during the pandemic while pregnant, Kira's journey is full of resilience, reinvention, and raw honesty. Her story speaks to every mother who's tried to hold a baby with one hand and a business with the other. MotivatePT is now a leading UK wellness company with over 40 female-focused coaches delivering 1,300 plus sessions monthly. But behind the scenes is a deeply personal mission to make fitness accessible, empowering, and sustainable for women, particularly those navigating pregnancy, postpartum, and perimenopause, which I feel like is like everyone in our age group upwards.
Everyone we know,
We'll be diving into her reflections on burnout, rebuilding a business with a baby on your hip, and why she believes Superwoman isn't real. FYI, I am also one of MotivatePT's OG customers back in 2018 while pregnant with my first baby and determined to stay healthy and well as a bride-to-be while I prepared for my wedding at 4 months postpartum. So I am a huge fan of Kira and didn't realise until we met on the Goldman Sachs programme this quarter that, you were behind the business, which is lovely to know.
Sometimes the universe just brings people together. And it was honestly, so what are the odds of that ever happening? It is so random that I was like, okay, we have to connect and get to know each other better because there's a reason. I just have
There's a reason. It was so new, your business at that stage, wasn't it? And I had never had a PT
sadly
before.
Were one of our customers when we didn't know what we were doing. So thank you for saying it was a positive experience.
I loved my PT. He used to give me the gossip. He would make sure he was there every Friday. It was my one time because I was overworking in my first pregnancy. So your ethos was there, as in I was living what you want is that I was making sure I looked after myself when I easily wasn't during that time in my life. So thank you to my PT during that time. And I love your journey, from banking to fitness. I'd love to know a little bit more. Did you ever think, obviously going into banking, very different career path. Did you ever think entrepreneurship would be in your future when you were young, preparing for university?
Honestly, I'd done things like Young Enterprise and become obsessed. I'd actually studied economics at LSE because I was obsessed with entrepreneurship, not necessarily economics itself, but it was the closest thing I could find that I thought that links back to, I think it's in your subconscious, right? It's not something I wasn't going around telling everybody, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but clearly I was doing things that were actioning my decision to get to that end goal without me even ever really admitting that to myself. So obsessed with Young Enterprise. I think we got to the second, I was the managing director. We were the second finalists in London. So it was a huge achievement.
Oh.
Yeah, we took it really seriously. We were actually doing sustainable books. We would go down to B&Q, get all the scraps of wallpaper. It was called Memoir. And we would learn how to make paper and we would make our own paper books out of all this beautiful wallpaper. Put sparkles and glitter into it and we would sell it at all the supermarkets.
And was this when you were 16?
There was a team of 10 of us.
Oh, wow.
All the way to the almost the finish line. And so that was my first time of wow, you can just come up with a name, you can come up with an idea, and with a group of action driven people you can actually start making money and doing things. It was so liberating. And then I was really between law and economics, and I was economics gives me the freedom to sort of figure it out, whereas law is so final. So then I did economics, and then I think the pattern was almost already there. My first job, everyone was applying to the Goldmans and the JP Morgans and getting their internships. And I remember just thinking, it's going to take me ages. And then you've got 8 rounds of interviews. These internships were aggressive. So why don't I just do something entrepreneurial again? So I was on the Marketing Society and I just launched a huge event, invited WPP's managing director of one of the firms in London. He came and did the talk. And then at the end, I said, can I have a job? And that was it. That was my first job at WPP. And I was an account manager at Grey, which was a huge ad agency. And didn't really even interview. It was
you were how can I do this but a lot quicker than my peers?
100%.
and
Sometimes
without
just
the
go do
interview.
something totally different. Like I just
That's
didn't
so
want to do what
entrepreneurial.
exactly. And so there were like these little things that I guess it was there, and I just didn't want to do what everybody else was doing. I was like, I'm not doing investment banking. There's no way. I want to just like, I'll be locked in. I want to do something else. And so that experience was like phenomenal and so
Mm.
much fun. It was like an extension of university. For anyone that's been in advertising or that sector, it is like wild and so fun. Got loads of exposure really quickly. And then from that, I was like, I'd quite like to work with clients. And then I figured out what part of banking I could fit into, which was private wealth management. So it's like all these little moves were actually, I guess, quite entrepreneurial. And I did the same thing to get into private wealth management. I didn't do anything conventional. I Googled like the top 5 private boutiques in London. I wrote them all an email. Like I think a few of them came back and I went in and I just did like almost like chats with the MD and got my first job. It was just nothing. I've never been through like an 8-stage, like, CV screening, assessment. I've never done that. I don't even know what that would
No.
feel like. And I just
I
did.
love that. And there is, for the right people, you'll go down a different route with them. I was talking this recently with someone at Upsource, I probably shouldn't say, but she was like, how did I manage to skip this? I was like, we just went down a different route. I knew it
Yes.
would work with you.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to adapt it, right, for the person and just be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, is that just a waste of everyone's time? And could we just do this more efficiently? And then I think what I was also doing was vetting the culture because typically if you're in a culture where there's like, nope, you have to follow these 8 steps and you've got to do your assessment on this day and you've got to, that was already creating so much stress within me that I was like, that's probably not a culture I'm going to thrive at. Like I want to, yeah, I want to be at like this boutique like private firms where like you can build connections quickly and I feel like I'll find my place that I belong. And I really loved Kleinmore and loved my time there. But then as you can see, I got the itch again to do something.
Yeah. So what made you leave for Motivate PT and, start your idea in a ski chalet, which sounds like the dream?
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly quite different to what most people will say. So I didn't do this because I hated my job. I loved my job. I was great at my job. I very like just by nature, I'm a Virgo, so I'm very professional. I love routine. I'd be first at my desk. I wanted to do the extra projects. Like I'm a very hardworking, ambitious person. And I loved being in an environment that sort of helped me really thrive on that. I loved what I was doing. But I would say in every job I had, there was always this curiosity in me of like, what if, what if, what if? And like, it's just not something you can shake. Like, if you're born to build something or do something, you're never going to shake it. And so all I was doing all this time was deflecting and trying to keep myself busy and like loving what I was doing. But then I got married and it was sort of like now or never. I think I was aware that like, okay, kids are going to be somewhere in my journey. And right now, like we were like really not tied down by anything, you know, parents were healthy, like there was nothing holding us even in London. So it was like, if we don't do this now, we'll never do it. And my husband was at JP Morgan, also he was actually an investment banker, phenomenal career, and we did it together, which just I think
Yeah, why lose one salary when you could lose two?
fantastic salaries, can I add? Oh, let's just give up these 2 phenomenal salaries. It was really barking mad, but I guess like having a partner in crime who was sort of like as risk taking as I was and as like determined to do his own thing as I was helped because, and it wouldn't help everybody, but it sort of helped us because we were in it together in a sort of like way. So it didn't feel that crazy. I kind of knew I had a great relationship with my boss. Actually, I just met him last week. He was the managing director of the bank. We're still super close. And I kind of knew like I've got my contacts in this industry. And if I ever want to return, I would never leave things on a bad note. And I knew I could go back. And I think that helps, even though I knew I would never take that option. It definitely creates this like soft
Yeah,
landing.
it's a safety net.
The
Yeah.
safety net. Exactly. So
Did you have anyone entrepreneurial in your family to make you like that, or it's just a vision for yourself?
my dad's an entrepreneur and always has
Yeah.
been. He was like had a phenomenal career as well in the civil service and then jumped and has run multiple businesses since then. And my husband's dad was the same. So he's a
Yeah.
property entrepreneur and you see it. But do you know what is actually crazy about it? You see them on weekends working, you see them really stressed out. Like I would hear my dad in like these heated phone calls where like someone's late. And then I still did it, which is what I still can't make sense of because it's like you actually have
Oh, you do, yeah. You see that you never switch off, and then you're like, no, but then you get the perks though as well. I do
you
think that,
do.
like,
You
yeah,
do. I guess look, it's not I am not that sort of entrepreneur that like had the business plan written. I hadn't like weighed up like, okay, this is my salary and how can I make that there? And I know some entrepreneurs are like that. And I guess this is comes down to your personality. We literally jumped with zero. There was no like, oh, let me baby step into this. I was working one day and then one day I wasn't. And it was like, right, what are we doing? It was like that. And I didn't have a plan of how I was going to get to my salary quickly again. I didn't have anything like that. But because I'm sort of an all or nothing person, I knew I give so much of myself to everything I do. I couldn't have done them both half-heartedly. Whereas some people can, they can sort of work and then clock on in the evenings and start building something in the background. That's just not my personality type. If I'm in a job, I will give that job my everything. And if I'm running a business, and the pressure helped me because it was like, I've got a year to figure this out. Otherwise, I'm back in banking or I'm back in a job. And that helped me just take it seriously.
I think that's so true of entrepreneurship, because I say the same. If I'm in a job, I give it my all, and then you can easily get taken advantage of. And, you know, in banking, you do get good salaries, so at least there's that. But if you're not in a area where there's the salary is reflective of that, you might as well be in entrepreneurship, because it's like, at least then I'm in control. Like, I might not be making it now, but that's the goal, that you'll be like there with it. And you can, because if you're that personality type, you're the best for entrepreneurship, I do think. So how come Motivate PT then? How come the wellness and health? Where does that come from for you?
Yeah, so around, I'm not, again, the girl that, and this is such a misconception, that like I've been into fitness my whole life. I was the sporty one at school. No, absolutely not. I hated sports day, dreaded PE, was only really good at high jump because I'm super tall. And so I just forward that just because I'm small, smallest girl in, so I just had to do. And, you know, it wasn't like, you know, oh my God, I was like this mini athlete that now runs a fitness company for women. Actually, the opposite. I did not connect with fitness until I was about 21, 22 in corporate, working long hours, and was like, I need something. I can't just go out every night, be drinking every night, be at dinners every evening. I need to do something to counteract this. And so I just discovered group classes, started going, but didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm squatting right. I used to get really fatigued after the session. I would do a session on like Saturday morning, then I'd remember the DOMs would kick in the next day, and I'd be like, oh my God, like then you can't train for 2 days. And I just realized, like, I want a coach. I would really love a coach. I want to find somebody to actually work with me. I worked really long hours and had a really active social life, as you do if you live in London. And so I was like, I need someone to fit this into my day. Couldn't really find anyone. I was like calling PTs, nobody was answering. I'd get voicemails. There'd be a PT, I could hear her like in her car, and she'd be like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, so inefficient, because I was doing it in my lunch break. It's crazy. Why can't I find a company that does this? It's really professional. And my standard was banking. So you can imagine the level of professionalism. Like, I'd write all my beautiful emails and get like a one-word context. They'd be like, no, can't do it. I was like, this is crazy. No, I want to just find this really easily. And this is really, really hard. And I was like, why doesn't this exist there? And that was the idea. It was like, why is there not a platform that just connects women in the background? They take 2 minutes of their time. They are matched. Everything's done for them. And that was ultimately what we were trying to build. And in the early days, it looked very different. But today, it's a full
Hey, I got that. That was my experience.
Okay. And it's that. And like my husband kind of went along into the wellness industry with me. It wasn't like his number one passion. That's why he does something different now. But it was really good to have him at the beginning, because I was like, there's just something in this. And wellness was just then starting to get trendy. We still weren't at the cusp of it being what it is today. It was still a lot of leisure centers. Group classes were pretty standard. There was nothing. I remember like Spin was just opening, like those studios, like Spin. And it was like, my God, like everyone wanted to suddenly go spinning on a Saturday. It hadn't really started. So everyone was a bit confused, like exercise. Like I remember like people like, who wants to exercise? Like, that's so weird. Like, you're so young and fit. Why are you? And I was like, no. Like, I just love it. It makes you feel so good. And I was almost like trying to convince people how good it was. And
it was almost like doing it just for skinny. I've had another fitness entrepreneur on here, and they were saying it was like just doing it to punish yourself rather than what we all do it for now.
People would literally say, you are so skinny. Why are you so obsessed with? And I was like, no, that's not the point. I'm not doing it to get slimmer. I'm doing it because it like makes me feel great. And people are still like, that's strange. Just go for a glass of wine. Why are you doing this?
It's not this.
Yeah, it was hard to sort of get that across. And then I just watched as we started building, this industry just start to emerge and become more vibrant, more exciting, sort of start to do a bit of that work for us, if you like. I was like, okay, the sell is becoming easier.
Wow. And as a bootstrapped business, so like, because I'm a bootstrap business, and I know that as with financial options for women, it's 2% of VC funding that women are still getting. It's hard. So a lot go down this route. How did that look like for you? You had a year. It sounds like you gave yourself a year to figure your stuff out. What does that look like for as a bootstrapped business?
Yeah, it's a really crazy one. I think, look, the reality about VC funding is it's a bit of a closed network. I think we have to be realistic about that. I think a lot of women don't even approach it because it feels just so out of reach. I was in the industry of banking, and at times it still felt confusing and out of reach for me. So I can't even begin to understand how women who have like literally no financial background, aren't even based in like a capital city like London, so like you really feel physically far as well as just removed from it. There is a barrier in place for sure, period. Like, and that exists because it's an industry that's almost overcomplicated itself, I think. Technically, what is VC there for? It's to fund brilliant ideas that are revenue generating. And a lot of women have those ideas, but it's their barriers to entry have become so complicated. But no, I mean, I think VC was always there for us. I leaned in because we jumped from so much to nothing. I leaned into a business model that was going to be revenue generating quickly. And I think this is the point number one. Like, VC funding is great if you're going to be loss making from the off. And if you've got an idea that is going to be, and you're also, VC funding is great if you're the type of entrepreneur that's like massive, crazy projections, right? So you've got to sort of understand what it is that you're trying to build. It's not actually for you. If you can scale this organically and you like the pace of that scale, then you don't need to think about VC funding if it's a revenue generating idea. If you're building some type of tech that you're really not going to see any revenue for the next 3 years, but your customer acquisition is going to be through the roof, then yeah, you should. So there's like a time and a place for VC funding. And at the beginning in that first year, my only thought was we've got about 6 months, because for 6 months we had somewhere to stay that was very kindly lent to us. And we were very lucky to have that. It was dreamy because, without that, it would have been like my parents' living room, which would have just been not very inspiring, let's be honest.
Yeah, like free but not inspiring.
Yes. I was like, we have to be somewhere that's going to inspire us. And also, I'd never taken a gap year. I'd never done anything like that. And I was like, I just want to take this opportunity to actually have a life experience as well. So we were very lucky that we got to go stay in Chamonix, in the mountains, actually hiking, which was very, it's like fitness, which is core to our business. We were living it, breathing it, and we were really like honing the idea, finding our first coaches, figuring out what the hell this was that we were trying to build, launching a website, which was so bad. I remember the first version of that website, but like really just, I'm talking like bare basics entrepreneurship, where you're like, I remember we just had a black piece of paper on. We need a bank account, right? We need a business bank account. We need a trading name.
I mean, that's good because so many people don't even, having worked with loads of founders, so many don't even get the business bank account. And I'm like, just separate your finances, please, even if there's nothing in there.
Right? Like, it's learning that. And like, there's no crash course on that. You just got to do it. Like, you've just got to set up your company's house page. You just got to do this stuff. And that was really like a great place to go do all that and then figure out the business model and then figure out pretty quickly how we could get to revenue generating, because that was really important for us.
And was it always about women, your platform, from the start? Because you've had different versions. Oh, really? It was about connecting PTs and people.
The idea at the beginning was so vague. And again, I'm just not, like, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs that have like nailed their vision from day one. The problem with nailing your vision from day one is you've got to go test the market. So I'm so grateful that for the first 3 years, we were sloppy, we were scrappy, we were for everyone. We hired every type of trainer. We made every type of mistake. We serviced every type of client, because in that 3 years, I sort of like figured out what it was that worked and what didn't. And I think it's very easy to say, I've got the solution. You don't have the solution if you haven't yet got your first paid customer. You've got no idea what the solution is yet. So it was those early days, it was just like for everyone. We're a male and a female founder. So it felt right to service just a whole market. And we made a lot of mistakes and we figured it out a lot of stuff, right? Like, look, and it's hard when you're getting a lot of, for instance, male clients paying you a lot of money that
say no to.
It's a great customer segment. And I was like, this is a fantastic group of customers to serve. The problem ultimately came in the pandemic when I just felt a massive disconnect to all of that. Because I was serving all these customers, and actually we still serve male customers. I'd say like 7% of our customer base is still male, but they're over the age of 40. They're wanting to do mat-based exercises at home. They're leaning into like that style. We're very transparent. We don't bring a lot of equipment. There's no racks, that we're going to set up in your living room for you to like bench press the hell out of. You need a gym. So ultimately the disconnect was when we'd get lots of male clients and I want to bulk up, I want to beef up. It's just not something I'm attached to. It's not an outcome I personally am attached to. I'm all about feeling good. This has to be sustainable. It has to be, almost like the lowest barriers to entry, like a mat that you roll out and a coach will just show you how you can do it. The minute we're getting into a different territory, there's probably someone else that can serve you better for that. Or a gym environment really is what you need if you want to bulk. I'm seriously bulk. We're not in counting calories, we're not into fasting, we're not into anything extreme. Our ethos is sustainability. We want women to do this for the rest of their lives. This is not a stop-start approach. This is like a rhythm you live your life by. And those were the customers I wanted. And luckily, when we focused in on that demographic, those were the customers we really started to get.
Amazing. And so what you've mentioned the pandemic, what happened there? Because that was a real pivotal moment for you. Because I read that you lost a 3 million valuation or something like that. So what happened?
Okay, so the whole VC thing actually happened just prior. So we were scaling Motivate, the customer side, and we had no tech then. So we were doing this all in a really cumbersome way. We had a team, we had like all our assistants, and everything was being done by email. And, it was good and it was growing, but I remember being hell-bent on signing big corporate. It was like an obsession. I was like, I'm going to do it this year.
And my first big partner, as in, so you could provide, right? Yeah.
So we go in on site to a company and we deliver all the sessions on site. And with that focus came the results. So I ended up pitching to WeWork and pitching to the New York team of WeWork. So we had really senior leadership on that team and basically going, make us your UK partner. It was crazy. It was out there. We were this small London team, but we'd been WeWork members for like 4 years. I really got the culture of WeWork and I was like, you guys are just not doing it properly. We can do it better for you.
And you totally had that vision. You can tell you the vision and went after it as you have done in your previous lives.
Absolutely. And because I'd made the mistakes over 3 years, I was able to crystallize a vision. And that's why it's important just to get started. Don't make it perfect on the first run, just get going. Because by that point, I was confident enough to do a pitch like that and really back myself. And we won it. We got that pitch. We were the UK partner for WeWork. We got a huge amount of press coverage. And for 12 months, we were basically scaling out that side of the business, and that was called Reset London. So Motivate in many ways was just put on. It was like this company that was revenue generating, it was doing okay, but we weren't focused on it at all. And Reset London was what we were scaling, and we built a second business, set up a second set of bank accounts, had to do all that
all the admin you don't know has to come with being a founder.
Yeah, we were like, we're pros at this now, so did it all again, had a separate website, everything. I mean, it was a stunning company, and we got approached by VCs. Because we got huge press coverage, huge features, and one VC in particular, loved them, went in for one pitch and were offered 1.8.
Oh my gosh, those were the days as well with VC as well. Clearly you'd built a great brand, but VC world has changed, hasn't it?
Oh my God, it was like, I think what always stops me, and we probably could have got VC funding from day one because the climate was right for it. Our backgrounds were right. We were ex-banking. We would have got it on day one.
You ticked all the boxes.
What held me back is I didn't want to do that parade, and I didn't want to take 6 months just to go hold up the proposal to 15 of them, to then go through, almost like with banking, like to go through that process when I could just build. And I was like, so when the VC approached us, it was so easy. It was so organic. It was like, come in, they got it within a second. Yeah, I just had my first daughter as well. So I remember all of this happening when I had like a 3-month-old. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What did you do with her? What did that look like? Because I've heard about, because Rachel from Corey Kids has been on here and said her husband was in the car with the baby and she'd be there at VC. So what was your VC story?
Because we were both business partners, it was really helpful, firstly, for any wife and husband teams that are having babies. It's life-changing because we were both on the same mission. We were on the same goal. So it didn't almost matter who was with her.
There's more equality there.
So much equality. Like, you're not fighting with each other for that, like, my time, your time, because we were both in doing the same thing for the team. So that helped massively. Otherwise, I don't know that we would have achieved so much in that first year after having a baby. I remember.
And what year was that? Was that after the pandemic or pre-pandemic? You had the baby?
This was all pre-pandemic. So going into the pandemic, she would have been just under 2. So like,
I didn't even realize our first the same age, because mine was 2018, my first.
Yes.
So she was 18. He was 18 months. Yeah.
Got it. Exactly. It was, so it was a very, it was a crazy period. So I just remember walking into that WeWork. It was a huge meeting at WeWork, and we'd been called in, and I was like 3 months postnatal. And I just remember, for any mum that remembers going to do that's also not normal. You do your first big meeting after being postnatal at like 9 months or 10 months or 2 years, like before you're really running. And I just remember I'd had a 3 month sort of that nesting period. And then had to go in because this was such an important meeting. And I remember walking to this meeting, and I will never forget the feeling of like my body felt so different. Like I remember I tried to walk really fast to like the station, like run, and I was like, oh wait.
No, you can't do that. We've all done that where you go to run postpartum, you're like, no, I had a baby a week ago. That was me running in the rain. And I was like, no.
And it'd been 3 months, but I hadn't really left my home because my babies are like deep winter babies. By deep winter, I mean like Jan, Feb babies. So you just nest. And then I remember just going and going, oh my God, like, what am I doing? I was having such an out of body experience. But that's the reality. Like, let's just not sugarcoat it. When you're running your own thing and you don't have a team of 40, you're still a small team. Yeah, you're going to be needed. And like sometimes
and WeWork was your client. Like that's a huge client, like to have, and it got you VC.
It got you VC, exactly. So then we got that offer for 1.8, which was super exciting. Everything was in motion. I remember we were like really in the final stage of legals. We'd already started interviewing for our new hires because you have to kind of get ahead of the curve when you're about to get funding and have a lot of things. Like the way VC funding works is like day one, you've got to go. There's no like, let me now think about. We might be because
they're like, do that 6 months ago.
You have to forecast for them. You have to forecast. So we'd already presented who the team were going to be in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 of the next 12 months. Like we'd already nailed all of that. You don't get the funding otherwise. So we knew the hires we had to make. So we'd already started interviewing them while the legals were going through. And it's hard to describe the day that like WeWork basically were like, there was an announcement like everybody needs to pack up and go home. Because that was the first day the government had basically said offices are about to shut. And that was so. Just imagine like your business is literally about to explode and you're thinking of so many things and you're working like 15-hour days. And that was the day that it was like, everyone needs to go home. And that was it. We packed up and didn't come back for like, I don't even know. I literally lose track of how long we were at home for, but that was the day. So
how did that feel when you also knew WeWork was like closing? What went through your mind, like knowing you're reaching this point where you're like, we're going to make it as a business? Like you are, like after all those early days.
Very few moments in life as a business owner where you're like, oh my God, we've made it. This was that.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm imagining it because I would think that at this stage, if suddenly I was in this position after, 4 or 5 years.
It's like a whirlwind as well. Like I know companies raise money all the time, but it is an absolute rollercoaster. You can't breathe while you're on it because you're just like, even though it's taken so much to get the money, by the time you get the money, it hasn't even started yet. It's about to start. Like feeling wild. And there's no,
Lisa at the Gut Stuff, she said it's a fast moving train and you can't get off because they're VC funded. Yeah. And you just got to keep going.
You've got to keep going. And it felt like that. And I'll be honest, there's so that was a moment that I was like, oh my God, I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, what's happening? Like 3 years were just, okay, it's all worth it. Like we've finally got here. I mean, at that time we were told to go. I think we were the last company to leave. Like we just carried on working until like 6 p.m. because we were like, whatever, this will blow over. And we weren't feeling the severity of it because we didn't know what was going on in the news. We were like head down in our business. Like we were in spreadsheets. I hadn't even like turned on the news in like a month. Like I really didn't know what was happening. And I totally thought it was temporary. I was like, there's no, I mean, as a lot of people did, you're like, never happened in our lifetimes. Like, this isn't.
We thought it'd be like 2 weeks, didn't we? We were like,
literally. And then over the course of the next 2 months, it all started to unravel. And obviously, we all know what happened. And the news got more heightened. And then I remember having the calls with the VC and everything had to be frozen. And it just all started to fall apart, which was a great time that I decided to get pregnant again. So, let's just throw a bit more.
That's what happens, Kira. I'm with you on that. I decided the same when I lost my job in a pandemic. Let's have a baby.
Let's have a baby. That'll make it so much easier. It was, again, I can't even get into my psyche of what I was thinking at the time because I'm like, why did we decide that? But I don't know. I think some things are just meant to be. And now looking back at it, even though it was such a crazy, like what a journey and what a crazy thing to have really endured and still be here today. Because I think at that point, a lot of people would have just gone, you know what, it's been a great 3 years. I've learned so much. I'm ready to go back to work. The series of decisions we then made, which are even crazier. One just proved to me how resilient you have to be to do this. You really have got, you can't just say you're resilient, you've got to live it, you've got to breathe it. And then I really believe this all happened for the right reasons, because I actually in that period started journaling a lot just to get through that first month of the pandemic, because we really didn't know what was going on. There really wasn't a lot to do for us, because bear in mind at this point we were doing like loads of sessions for WeWork and they'd all just closed. So
That's it. And what happened to your VC funding? They just back
it
out?
all
Like, what
froze.
happened
It
there?
all froze. It wasn't even they backed out. It was like off the table. It's still off the table. It's still off the table until eventually we stopped asking because it was quite obvious
Mm,
the world had closed.
mm.
Like it's, and we didn't feel comfortable raising money either because we were like, what if we can't fulfill? Like,
Yeah.
that's a huge pressure.
Taking money and then you can't deliver.
You
Yeah.
can't deliver. We had to also just go, you know what? This is a crazy time to raise. We're not raising right now. This is not something we're going to be able to deliver on. It's too much pressure.
Okay.
And it's pressure in a period where it's not even like you're stepping out every day and meeting lots of people and brainstorming and having meetings. For all the VC funded firms in this period, I'm sure some like online commerce absolutely thrived, but gosh, there must have been a lot of companies that were like, we just actually don't know what to do because all the
Yeah.
support networks have broken down. You're now by yourself every day. I mean, it was a really crazy period to be going through that. And then because I'd been journaling, I remember like towards once I'd had my daughter, I read back my journal, and actually what I had written in that journal was the opposite of what I thought I was feeling. So I thought I was in the best months of my life. I was like, Ray, this is so exciting. Actually, what I was writing was, I just want to be home with my baby. I really miss my daughter. This is happening too fast. I don't know if I really connect to this vision. I don't know if this is what I really want. Literally I was writing, but then getting up and just doing, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how we're functioning.
You're pretending. You're like, oh yeah, this is what I want. So
No,
I've been working for this.
absolutely. Let me just scale and let's
So
just do this because this is what we
interesting.
want. And like, yeah, this is it. Like, this is the vision. This, of course, this is what we want. Like, who would not want this? Like, this is unbelievable. And then when I read it back, actually, I was just missing my daughter so much. I was feeling a massive disconnect with her
Yeah.
because I was not having a normal maternity experience. And I just wanted everything to stop for just a second, which it doesn't when you're on that ride. I just wanted everything to pause, to have like 3 months with her and nobody would need me or want me and I could just have that. And in a weird way, I look back at it now and it all happened for an absolute reason. Like, I just
Mm.
think I needed everything to stop. It did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the world
It really
stopped.
did. World stop. And I've had my second daughter, who's obviously the biggest gift ever. Like, couldn't imagine life without her. So I don't know, you've got to come to terms with this stuff and you've got to connect the dots. And for me, I did that by the end of the
Oh,
pandemic. And that's when we pivoted the business again. It was just like a do or die situation because it was either
amazing.
shut down or go again, which
And
is
what did you pivot to? What was the go again? And this is such entrepreneur resilience. You could have shut down then. People did. You could have easily gone, I want to stop and stop. But you're like, let's pivot again. We want, and it's the belief in it.
insane. Again, I cannot even get into my head of what I was thinking in that period because we had brilliant careers before. We had networks in the space that we were operating. I liked my job. Even understand why I didn't just say for a second, right, this has been phenomenal. Let's pause it here and let's just do. We just took more risks. So what ultimately happened was I had terrible morning sickness. So for 3 months, perfect time, by the way, to have morning sickness because you have no FOMO, no one's doing anything. For 3 months, I was just really not feeling good, really couldn't even work. And my husband was sort of like, we had to wind down, reset. We had to like shut everything down, which is not a fun experience, but we had to do that. And then we had Motivate running. Like I said, we'd never switched off Motivate. That was always profitable and revenue generating for us and literally our safety net through this period. And for whatever reason, I just remember one day in that morning sickness when my husband was like, have you checked, by the way, monthly accounts have been for Motivate? And what we'd been doing was pivoting everybody to online sessions because we had so many customers reaching out going, I'm bored, I'm at home, I don't have a gym anymore. Can you guys do something? Your website's up, like, what are you offering? And we were like manually sending these Zoom links every day. We were like, and all these trainers had no work and they were emailing us like, we're desperate. Please, can you help us? Like, you've always helped us as a company. What can you do? And I just remember one day my husband going, it's really kicking off. Like, we need more trainers. And I was like, wait, what?
We've got a business.
Okay, like, it was kind of this moment. I was like, okay, whoa, right. And we're such doers that we can't sit
Mm,
there and twiddle our thumbs. There was no way we were just going to sit there and go, oh, we've lost a business. Let's take 3 months to just sit at home and do nothing. Like, we have to be productive. That's like our
mm.
nature. So I was like, cool, let's build a platform. So we found a developer and we started building a tech. I'm not a tech entrepreneur, but I was like,
Yeah.
let's do it. I'm pregnant now. I've got 6 months before I have to give birth. I've got 6 months to build something. So we got on developers and I started learning about tech and we started.
Oh, there's such synergy with our stories. Same time, 6 months. Let's build a business. We've got this.
Yeah, like you just gotta, you don't have anything because you really know when you look back, like you're just like winging it. But whatever drive there was like, okay, we have actual paying customers who want the service, and there's so many of them. Like, let's
Mm.
just make something. So we start building, and about 2 months before I was about to give birth, we finally got the platform running, and we're able to like sort of start doing it really properly, and it's actually doing quite well. And my husband then said, okay, wellness was never my thing, and I was excited on the VC journey with you because that's really, brought a huge amount of value to that. I mean, he is numbers through and through. A lot of that
Amazing.
magic was him because he was like, EBITDA is this and this is this, and he was just
EBITDA.
phenomenal.
Don't, are you bringing back trauma from Goldman Sachs, Kira? EBITDA.
I should have known my EBITDA in those meetings because let me tell you, my husband knows all that off the top of his head. He really, and he said, now that we're not in that position with the business, I actually want to run a new business. And so he was like, I'm setting up a hospitality company. I want to launch restaurants.
As you do during a pandemic.
As you do when all the restaurants are closed. And so I was very delirious, heavily pregnant. You can imagine the state of mind. I don't think I was even listening. I was like, okay,
Should we buy this baby monitor?
yeah, like literally like, yeah, okay, but I'm hungry. Can you go get me a snack? Like sort of vibe. Like I really wasn't listening.
Can you put our daughter to bed, please, while I rest? Yeah.
I think she needs a nap. This is really cute. Good for you. And he wasn't joking. He really wasn't joking. And so, 3 months after our second daughter was born, we launched our first site in Notting Hill. So that all happened very fast too. So it's an absolute pivot. I mean, I don't know, from I think what could have just been the end of our entrepreneurship journey easily for both of us. I think that could have just been the moment we just said,
Yeah.
and
Fewer other people.
yeah, it would have just been like this little blip of trying it and just exiting, going back. We, effectively ended up creating two new businesses. And I always say this Motivate is just, I mean, I don't even compare the two. This was like a rebirth, tech driven, female focused, subscription led, and it's a completely different business to what we were running before. I mean, nearly that entire business is now run through the tech. I have the smallest in-house team because my tech runs the entire thing end to end. And yeah, it's just, I think always was meant to be the business I was supposed to run.
Yeah.
And so that's why I just
absolutely.
believe everything happens for a reason.
That it certainly has. And I'd love to touch on, because you've talked a bit about, the guilt you clearly felt wanting to spend time with your daughter. And so what does that look like now? What support networks have you needed in place to achieve your goals with having babies and running your businesses that kept going? Because I think you've said before as well, the term, why I do like to talk about the term, how do you do it, gets floated around a lot. Like, how does it work for you?
Yeah, I think because of the experience I'd had, and it was such a crazy experience and such a tough experience, and having that reflection of like what I'd actually journaled versus what I'd experienced, I actually made a very conscious decision that I was okay with slower growth whilst my girls were young. I think there's a few times in your life that you have to make these very tough decisions for yourself and really think about prioritizing. And I knew, having had that VC experience and the WeWork experience and how fast everything went, I was just very intentional. I was like, I'm not doing it again. This time I'm going to make something wonderful. Don't get me wrong, I'm very ambitious. But you know what? It's okay whilst they're not in school that we set some different goals and expectations for ourselves as women. And really, when you're at the end of your life, what are your regrets going to be? They're going to be that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. That's it. That's everyone's regret. Like, it's the same stuff again and again. Family, didn't enjoy myself enough, didn't do this. And because I'm in this industry and I exercise weekly, I journal, I meditate, I'm very aware of these things. It's not like I shove them down anymore. This is my life. What I'm building is my life. So I was very aware of these facts, and I was like, I'm just going to build differently. This time, ambition's going to look slightly different. And I can honestly say today, I have zero regrets. I've spent so much time with my two girls. I was very deliberate about the days I worked. When I worked, I was all in. And when I didn't work, I was at home with them, being just very intentional with my time and taking them to play groups and doing the things. And now, lo and behold, they're 4 and 6 and they're in school. And it's like that freedom you get as a mom is unbelievable. I mean, the amount of time I have now to really run, which is what we're trying to do.
Now you've got your growth plan for the next 3 years from the Goldman Sachs program, Kira.
It's true. It's like you're in a different phase of your life, and it is just like now feels like go time organically, whereas then didn't. It really didn't. And I would have been pushing against every maternal instinct in me as a mom to have gone at that pace then. And I'm so happy I just waited because the world is still here. opportunities are still here. We've got to get out of this mindset that like
It's
you missed the
almost a
train.
scarcity mindset, isn't it? Whereas if you're more growth abundance, you'll know it will be there when you're out.
And I just am so grateful that like my second experience was so different to my first, because that
Gosh.
first year with my first daughter was just madness, and we got through
Yeah.
it with a lot of family and support, and the second time round was just, and also you couldn't have a nanny, I remember, for the first
Yeah.
6 months because no one was allowed in your home. I mean, it was a complete all round, like my mum didn't meet her till she was 3 months
Yeah,
because
same. It's crazy, isn't it? I forget about this. I was like, my baby was literally like 3 months when my mum met him. It's
yeah.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
the support network didn't exist
No,
because we weren't even allowed people in our homes. I mean,
no.
and today I just, I'll be honest, like you have to have, if you want to really do this, like you need people. So we have a nanny 3 days a week that does school pickup. That is like how I
Amazing.
manage to stay at work till 6:30, 3 days a week. I do school pickup every Thursday. I'm very set on, like every Thursday is my day where I have to be at the school gates for them. And then on Friday, we have my sister-in-law who steps in and supports. It is a village. There's no way you're doing this by yourself. Or you can, but you're going to have to accept that working, what is it, like, to be honest, like 9:15 to 2:45 day to factor in commute times. You've got to just be realistic that you're not going to achieve everything in that time.
Your growth's going to be slower because often my days can look like that. And it just means I either have to pay more for a team and I pay myself less, or, there's sacrifices to be made. And it might be that
And they
or
both
you're
are
working
fine.
evenings.
They
Yeah.
both are fine. I think it's like getting comfortable with actually what is my ambition and what does a great life look like to me, and just normalizing that rather than saying, I'm going to go all in, I'm going to build a 500 million pound business and it's going to be like this. And actually just like get a bit realistic about what am I trying to build and what does happiness look like? Because they're not always going to be correlated with how big your business is. Actually, for us, it's about building a business that does good in the world, creates good outcomes for the women and trainers we work with, is profitable and growing. I live by values for my business instead. And the minute it doesn't feel like we're doing good in the world, I probably wouldn't want to run it, to be perfectly honest. Like, I want to create great things.
I
So,
love that. And I feel like mothers are more likely to want to do that as businesses versus the growth. And that's why these conversations are so important. And I love that, Motivate PT, you can really sense it's not just about, the exercise aspect anymore. And it's about your well-being and your health. And is it thanks to COVID that became part of you as well as your business? Have you always been that way minded on journaling and things like that? Was it that experience that made you realize, meditation and how to look after yourself is why you're so brilliant at your business as well?
yeah, I mean, in my 20s, I think fitness was the thing I lead into. So wellness for me was just fitness. It was just, and
Yeah.
the type of
I think
fitness,
most people back then it
yeah,
was.
it was like, it wasn't even just like, it was like hit. It was like extreme hit. Like that was the style of fitness, which actually, as you enter your 30s as a woman, is not going to be the way you want to move your body anymore. It's not going to be the best way. It's going to raise your cortisol. There's all sorts of,
I
adaptations.
know. When I got told this by someone, I was like, that's it. I don't have to do HIIT anymore. I've got high enough cortisol levels.
Times in the month you want to do HIIT, and that's cycle tracking. And there are times your body will react well to it, but there are also times where that will do terrible things for you. And it won't feel natural. And again, it will feel like you're going against every impulse to actually push yourself in that way. And actually, it's not going to build probably the type of muscle you want and the type of, it's actually, you adapt and you learn. And so, yeah, the pandemic was a massive shift, but also just turning 30 and having a baby, I think was the time where I was like, I'm not going to pretend to journal in the coffee shop because it looks like pretty little scene of somebody walking by. You do things like they're almost like forced, like I'm in wellness. I connected to what it was. I connected to what it brought me. I saw the benefits of what it brought me. There has to be a deeper inner connect to what you're doing. And meditation was that for me as well. Like I was almost like meditating, but thinking about work and thinking I was doing a really great job. Yeah, I've done my 15 minutes. That's not how it should feel. It should feel like I can't get through my day until I've given myself that space and time. When it starts to feel like that, you've deeply connected to what that experience is. And now for me, it's like, I can see a noticeable difference on the days I do those things and the days I don't.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's being a mum,
That's
maybe it's the
amazing.
same for you. Like you had kids and you were like, I need
Oh,
more.
it was like I had to. I was like, I can't get through the day with these two little kids and, processing everything that we'd been through. I was like, I can't. I have to meditate. Otherwise, it was a survival mechanism, which is now, it's now a part of your well-being routine. It means it's a very different mechanism as well, from just I've got to do this to get through the day, or to now like, oh, I get to do this to get through the day, and it makes a positive impact to my day.
Absolutely. It
That
should never feel
reframe,
like
isn't
a
it?
chore.
Yeah.
Exactly. If it feels like a chore, you're doing it wrong. If it feels like, oh my God, this is like my thing and I can't wait, then you're doing it right. And I just think, again, for women, you know, a 45-minute fitness session with your coach might just feel out of reach on a certain day. It's like, I'd love to do that, but I don't have that today. So it's like having a toolbox. What can I do? I've got 10 minutes while they're having their dinner to myself that I can just step out of the room. Right, let me just reach in. Is it a bit of journaling? Is it meditation? Is it just making myself a hot cup of tea and just sitting somewhere quiet with no distractions to drink it? It's think of wellness like that. And, you know, I don't exercise every day. I exercise 3 to 4 times a week. That's my limit. I very rarely do more than 4 sessions a week because of how I train. It just would be too hard because my body's often feeling the effects the next day, and I really apply myself. So that's it. It's not like, you know, no one's on this rigorous intent. You don't need to put yourself in a system like that, because again, it's not sustainable. It goes against everything I've said of like sustain. It has to work with you. Are you going to do this when you're 60, or is this just for the next year? If it's just for the next year, you haven't got your routine right.
Love that. So go for the long term, not for the next year. So many tips I'm getting from this, Kira. But what I want to know next, I've got 2 final questions, is what's next for you and Motivate PT? Is there anything you can share with us about what your plans are for the next
Yeah.
few years?
I mean, we are really set to scale. At the moment, we've got a wait list in London, which I can't quite believe.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
we're full. And that was something I wrote on my wish list, vision board, whatever you want to call it, around 12 months ago. I want to get the business to overflowing, and I can't believe we've achieved it. So it was an amazing moment, a very stressful moment if you're the founder. I think probably more exciting for like my team than me, because I'm just like, what do we do now? You can't just have like a wait list of 100 names. So we're like, yeah, we're going to get you booked really soon. And they're like, well, how soon? And I'm like, we're
Yeah,
working on it.
what's the waiting list? That's
It was like a goal, and then you reach a goal and you're like, well, what next? So what's next for us is really just figuring out the direction. We want to reach as many women as possible. We want to break some really ambitious KPIs next year. Like we do around 1,300 to 1,500 hours monthly at the moment. And I feel like we're just starting, dare I say. Like I said, I've just got my mental headspace from September this year. And it's like, okay, honestly, I feel like the sky is kind of the limit. And now it's that decision-making piece of how big do I want to take it? What looks like a good business to me, and what looks like uncomfortably like we're breaking at the seams and more of me is going to be required. And do I, you know, it's all those decisions that I've been talking about, and just making those intentionally rather than just saying all big business is good, let's just go as big as we can get, because I actually don't agree with that.
growth, but intentional.
Intentional growth. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kira. And I think I know what brings you joy, but I'm obsessed with joy since I rediscovered it after going through some trauma with my second child, and how important it is for us as women and mothers to really feel that, you know, away from being a mum that brings us joy. We know that. What is your joy, and how would you, I think also, because you're an expert in this and looking after yourself, what would you recommend to a mum in the trenches of how they can find their joy again?
Honestly, just create. So obviously I'm going to say fitness, because that has been my joy for the last 6, 7 years. That has been like how I stay grounded and connected. Like it connects you to your body. And the minute you understand where the pain is in your body or what you're feeling, I really believe it manifests itself in so many different ways. Like you could be feeling like a really sore shoulder, but really your body is trying to tell you something. So for instance, for me, when my shoulder starts to hurt, I'm overworking at my laptop. It's a very simple signal in my body.
So similar, Kira. It's here.
It's here, right? So like your body's actually trying to alert you to pain. And what we do is suppress it. We take extra paracetamol, we take ibuprofen. That act of whether it, all you can bring yourself to do right now is 1 hour session, and just make it as joyous as possible. And by that, I mean, wear an outfit that makes you feel phenomenal. Don't just go in your basics. Go and buy yourself something that just makes you feel head to toe like you're about to just crush it. Go for a walk. Go grab a coffee, go on a longer route to get to wherever you're going to, or if you've got someone coming, make your space beautiful for your session. Like, I just think making small, good for you moments, like whether it's fitness or whatever, like, and just putting so much joy around that and making that like your weekly thing will do more wonders for you than I can actually describe. Like, how did I rebuild in a pandemic? I exercised. I remember I ran workout sessions for my entire family. We grew from like having just like two of my sisters to like, then another person found out, then it went on all the family group chats. And in the end, I was training like 16 members of my family, my mum, my aunt, and it would be every single week. And I would like get dressed up for it. I'd find a playlist, I'd work on it, and we would all work out together. And stuff like that kept me so mentally strong in probably one of the darkest times of my life. And I didn't even know it was a dark time because I didn't allow myself to sink into it. I just stayed. And it was fitness. Like fitness, honestly, for me, is what I come back to again and again and again. And nothing hits the spot quite like fitness does for me.
Get your body moving is the key. I love that. Kira, where can people find out more about you, your podcast and MotivatePT, even though there's wait lists now? But where can we find out?
We are trying to fix that. So yeah, MotivatePT is at motivatept.co.uk. We're on all the socials. And then I'm active on LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect with me on there, Kira Mahal. Also have an Instagram that's a little bit less active. One of my goals with social media was to limit my time so I can grow the business, but I'm still there if anybody wants to reach out and reach me there. And I have a podcast too called Superwoman Isn't Real, which is why I have so much respect for your podcast, because this little hobby of podcasting is quite the...
It's quite the hobby, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of put people off starting podcasts these days. So I'm like, it's a lot of work. And then if you still want to do it, you're meant for it, is what I think. So well done on that. Go listen. It's a fantastic podcast. Thank you so much, Kira. I can't wait to see what's next for you and MotivatePT and see you as one of the leaders in that industry. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
Thank you so much for listening to Bump to Business Owner. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Please do rate, review, follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps us to connect with more mums and business owners. You can DM me on @BumpToBusinessOwner on Instagram and I'll be back next week.